need to maybe simmer that in a little bit. Is everybody here? Is Quinn and Eric join us? Okay, Quinn, Eric. Okay, thanks. I'm in a weird mode now because I'm sharing the screen. All right, so I'm just going to read through these quality affordable housing ones. First of all, do we like the term quality affordable housing? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I mean, so the one, let's see, we have identify and expand additional partnerships and maximize programs for greatest impact. The next one is support possible affordable support. I guess it should be support a possible affordable housing summit.
Support proposed.
Well, I feel like our housing partner needs to propose it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can certainly, after this, say like, hey, we would like to see, the housing authority. If you guys could pull something like this together, we could do some funding. And even, even if, not to speak for the mayor, but if the mayor could pull out a little bit out of one of his discretionary funds, and we could pull a little bit out, we could just make it happen. Anyways, we may get
Can I interject? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Denise is raising her hand, which trumps me.
Whoever thinks they were first, if you could.
I think I was first.
Go ahead, Denise.
And it might be the same thing Anna is going to say, but I really don't want to duplicate services with something like this. And I know that Jeff and I went to a housing summit that we were very impressed with. And I have been told by the organizer, it's going to be quarterly, and it's Kitsap County. It's not just the city, but the mayor certainly was involved in it, as was community development. Garrett Jackson was there, and they are going to be focusing on affordability in the next quarter. So as soon as information comes out on that, they'll have Jill Stanton and others, but developers will be there, as well as the Builders Association. So just wanted to let people know about that. And I certainly think we could support that. I would love to see as many of council attend those summits. That it's actually the realtors, Kitsap Realtors Association is putting it on, but all the players were there in the room, including BHA, who had a few staff, but the Navy wasn't there. That was, of course, they're always the hardest ones to get to the table. But Jeff and I were both really impressed, and I'd like to see what they're doing. They've got the resources to put behind this, and see what they're doing, and maybe, enhance it somehow, maybe.
So, yeah, supporting it could be, if there is
certainly attending it.
Yes, attending it. So I'm actually wondering if we should, so, okay, like one level above sort of the Affordable Housing Summit, what we're really talking about is sort of collaboration, sort of bringing all parties to the table. So I wonder if we should have something stronger that says encourage collaboration by supporting, by supporting community, roundtable summits, participate, something like that. So something that really even just says that we're going to make an effort to collaborate. We're going to either invite.
How about engaging with, so that we're not just putting our name on it, we're actually engaged in the process, whether we're attending or what. I don't want to just be a sponsor of something, and I know that Anna has a lot of ideas about what could go into something like that.
Anna?
Thanks. So I think it'd be really useful, because almost everybody, when we start talking about affordable housing, says, what is affordable housing? I'm suggesting we use DCD's definition that I'll mess this up, but I think low income is below 60% of AMI and moderate income is 60 to 80% of AMI. Andrea can correct me if I'm wrong, but whatever that definition is that was used in the most recent MFTE submittal, I think it'd be helpful to either use that here or at least reference it so that we're talking about, you know, not something that's affordable to a six-figure income. I think that, you know, I value the contribution of the Kitsap Realtors. I would suggest that perhaps might be more useful when you're talking about affordable housing is Kitsap Housing and Homelessness, who are dedicated to finding homes for the homeless. And something that, Mayor, you keep bringing up, which is providing housing to people that are just on the tipping point, you know, helping them so that they don't lose their homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just tossing that in. Among the 20 things that I want to say, I'm mentioning 3.
So if we can come up with on this second new red bullet here, maybe something that's even a little broader than this. And so I like the word engage in regional efforts, community efforts, you know, to support collaboration. Mayor, did you have?
Yeah, I was going to say, and Councilor Chamberlain brought this up a while ago. We just collaborated on a pretty extensive housing analysis with Department of Human Services, Kitsap County Department of Human Services, which is, they have a homeless, you know, affordable housing and homelessness division in their department. There's a whole number of suggestions in that really it took a lot of work and it was expensive. And now we have this, and but it's very, without going in and looking at it, committing to that, some of those action items might be a little, you know, again, that's pretty specific and targeted. Could it be that we, you know, I just, the work's been done. And so if we were to repeat that work, just call it something different, I think that gets into what Councilor Fry was talking about, just duplicating an effort that may have already occurred.
Yeah. Andrea?
The mayor took the words out of my mouth. I mean, we've got a whole document that we did that collaboration. I'm not sure that a whole meeting of the minds needs to come together. I think we need to do the hard work now and all the recommendations in that report. That's part of what the infill toolkit is. It's identifying impediments to getting more housing developed. That's why we're doing the infill toolkit. So a lot of what's in the action strategies in this document that was a long process to get to, just we need to do the work. I'm not sure that we need another summit to discuss the issues that are within the report.
So Andrea, you just held up, was that the infill toolkit?
No, this is the
report.
The City of Bremerton, Kitsap County Affordable Housing Recommendations Report. So you can see it's a pretty thick document, but it had lots of participation from all the housing agencies, Kitsap County, City of Bremerton, and we've got some action steps in there. And I think if we just started utilizing these reports that we've got and actually taking the steps that it shows us to do, we'd be in really good shape.
Has all of council been provided that?
I can certainly I can send you the link again.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I'm wondering if we just, maybe the best thing to do then is to have a statement that addresses that document and maybe say, I mean, I don't know how do we need to have something that says you review and implement like document recommendations as, I don't know.
You could do in the same place where you're making reference to the infill toolkit, you could just say, implement the studies that we've been doing to work toward affordable housing, such as the infill toolkit, the affordable housing recommendations report, et cetera.
Okay.
Because you can give yourself credit, Council President, for already implementing the findings from that report. The council can do that. And I think continuing to implement this, as the director said, you know, it's keeps us going, keeps us focused.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, let's, how about something that says like, implement results of the study findings and continue to support the infill toolkit? Is that
Implement the findings.
implement the findings? I don't, without having all the findings in front of me,
Right.
I just sounded like Kermit for a second.
Yeah.
But without having them all in front of me, I just want to, I want to just,
Yeah.
we're not carte blanche gonna sign off on them all just because we don't know what they are in front of us right now, but I believe they're good. So if we could just have a little bit of language that says, yeah, actually, Denise just said, you know, consider adopting or implementing.
So the toolkit that they're referring to isn't the infill toolkit. The infill toolkit is a way to implement one of the recommendations of the report was Eco Northwest did that. You know, their economics and finance and planning consultant out of Seattle. So it's the City of Bremerton and Kitsap County Affordable Housing Recommendations Report. So would it be feasible to say that we could explore, I just said feasible, I'm about to say it again, explore feasibility of implementing recommendations of City of Bremerton and Kitsap County Affordable Housing Recommendations Report by Eco Northwest.
Yeah, there was just suggested that we put it together with the toolkit. but
Right,
That's
I
fine.
got, okay.
Yeah, you and I can smooth that over. Okay, do we want to keep something do we want to keep this Affordable Housing Summit one on here, or do we feel like there's been enough work on that and we need to actually take some action? As Elvis might say, a little less conversation, a little more action.
I'm raising my hand again because I just also wanted to say I'm really, really glad to hear that people don't want to just keep talking about it. They want to like, or get more consultants. We already got the consultant. And so we have the recommendations. I would love to, I mean, okay, here's why the Affordable Housing Summit is valuable. And I get where Anna's coming from. You know, there's new things that have happened since this 2020 report and people have lost touch with each other. And so I see the value in it. And as a summit being a way to come together as a community, I can see the value in that. But coming together to form new recommendations, like all these, like they already have been telling us what we need to do. And I think it would be frustrating for these organizations to come together again. So Anna, do you have any other suggestion as to how, because I don't want to see them come together and like create new recommendations because they've already been telling us that. And that's a lot of fatigue for you know, these folks. You know what I'm saying? Do you have another way?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have additional suggestions. I should have rolled these two bullet points together. This one is the summit is for the purpose of like working on using city-owned property to build affordable housing. Is that making sense? It's not to like reinvent the wheel. But Habitat for Humanity does this. Kitsap Builders Association is interested in talking about it. And I think the inclusion of people without homes might be of use for the many people who don't ordinarily see the homeless people except, you know, in front of the 7-Eleven at 6th Street or something, to just write real people. I think that would be helpful. But I am one of 7. I'm just voting.
Yeah, I think, I feel like all right. I feel like we could have something that could encompass obviously new ideas, supporting things that come up. I think that, you know, we've already asked staff to kind of just identify properties and things like that. So if we do identify that there's some properties and we think we can get around the gift of public, public goods or whatever it's called, you know, then maybe we could look at doing something like this. So I think that could definitely put us into next year. I think, I mean, we have identified and expand additional partnerships and maximize programs for greatest impact. I kind of feel like for this, and I think that covers that. Okay, so then we're going to move down to conduct inventory of surplus property.
So we're
We're gonna do that.
striking the summit?
We're striking the summit, but
Good.
it doesn't mean it's gone from our consciousness.
Okay, good.
Improve technical assistance on city's website. What was that? I feel like that was something a little more. Was that for
It was for landlords
landlords? Is that
and for people who were seeking affordable housing. Am I correct on that?
was this
That's right. That was my suggestion, Michael. I think Kylie already responded to, and Andrea already responded to in IT. So yeah, I think that one's like a simple fix of making those resources available to people through the website. But I think it's a low hanging fruit that could actually get really big bang for its buck.
But to be clear, are we saying improve landlord technical assistance or technical assistance for landlords?
I think it's both. I think it's tenant and landlord. So if you want to include tenant and landlord technical assistance,
And that could even include things like accepting, like the new laws on accepting Section 8 vouchers and things like that. Okay, let's Christine, well, let's go ahead and add sort of landlord tenant to that. Mayor Wheeler.
Yeah, and I also believe having our having a little more usable our website where things that are frequently asked question, we know a community interest, having it where it's not a something that's going to require an in-depth search and somebody investing 2 hours learning our website. And so we're working on what that might look like. Obviously, affordable housing is right up there.
And
But the reason I raised my hand, I didn't want to get past Council President, the inventory of surplus property. We already have an inventory of city property. Each one can be evaluated if an offer is made for it, and then we can determine. You would have to be the ones that approve whether it would be surplus or not. We would explain why it's even on the rolls and what the reason might be set aside. It could be for water utility access for some reason, and so we're open. I think I can say we're open for business if there's something out there.
maybe we can change that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and
Maybe we could change that to say, conduct an analysis of city property that could be used for affordable housing.
make us, yeah, and I would say make us an offer. So how would that work? Because I think everything, depending on what the deal might be, unless it's just an absolute showstopper where we know there's going to be development and we need that for to hit a new pump station for some reason, and we're setting aside property for a new pump station or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's, yeah. I mean, and I think most of us have no idea of what assets we really have. So, because there's another possibility too, where we look at just other property in the city and see if there's a way to encourage private owners or things like that to consider something.
Right.
I mean, what we're talking about is like, how do we get a little out of the box here? How do we create, make something else happen? I'm wondering if this should be an actual goal. It doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean it can't be worked on, but to be honest, this isn't something that we as a council, I feel, are going to work on. Denise.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think I was the one that brought this up because in my district, we're going to be looking at redevelopment, and it includes a lot of Bremerton School District property that's going unused. And there's also city property up on Olympic that could be used as well. And just wanting, I saw somebody sent us a list of property already that was done several years ago. I do like the word analysis, because these public-private partnerships around land usage can be used very productively and carry a lot of impact for a community. So I don't I really don't want to get rid of that. That's an asset that we have that may be going underutilized for many years just because, oh, we know it's school district property. Who knows? They may need it down the road. I just want to explore that and know what options, we have
Yeah.
around that.
So the school district property, of course, is not the city's property.
No,
But-
but it is publicly owned land. And so deals can be brokered,
Yes.
I know.
Maybe we need to change this and broaden it up. And maybe say something like identify public lands or something like that.
Could be.
But again, when I say that it's not something that like, we're not going to at meetings be doing like this analysis might have to happen before we could take any action. But,
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to ask about when the mayor said, bring me an offer. I personally don't want to wait until an offer comes in to be working on this. I think we could work on it from both directions. I think the council needs to have a good understanding about what our assets are. And even if they're neighborhood assets that are owned by a different municipality, what is going to have the best impact for the citizens of our community? And when I look at the redevelopment in my district and the thousands of more people that are going to be living in my district, I ask, okay, where is the housing going to go? And also park space, with that school district property. So Aaron Lavelle already knows I've got a meeting scheduled with him just to find out what the history is. I don't really know what the history is specifically. So, but I think it's such an important asset for the city, how all of our property is being used. And if it's not being utilized, maybe we can have some impact on that.
yeah, thanks. I need to hear from some other council members on this. Jeff.
Yeah, just gonna quickly offer audit committee, if the committee agrees, could likely take this on. It sounds like 2015 they did. So based on that, I think it wouldn't be a big work item to update it. And we already had on the possible work list looking at rental properties, which is kind of tied in. That was more of trying to figure out which properties may be rented but not licensed throughout the city. But I don't think we could get to it this year, looking at the current workload, but it could be done next year, I think.
Okay. Other council members, are you kind of just looking for some reinforcement of this or some non-reinforcement?
If you take it off, it doesn't mean it won't get done if it does end up in audit committee's plate.
Yeah.
Right. That, let me take my hand down, but thank you, Councilor Coughlin. Yeah, I was wondering, I just want to make sure if it's a city responsibility, I just want to fully understand what it is and then what we're trying to achieve. And I think if you break it down in the audit committee, it sounds like you may do more selective research and then at least have a list that could be under a different subheading on our website potentially after the administration vets it for what is the future of this property hold. Why is it even in there? And then of course we have to work through the surplus process and then market it. It wouldn't be the first time the city's marketed property for sale, just had it up for sale. But if we're going to subsidize a nonprofit, some type of affordable housing, then we'd have to market it in a way where what we're willing to, accept as a payment, which gets a little more complex when you're structuring deals, private-public partnership. I like the start of that, and just getting us a list that and then letting us evaluate and tell you why it's even there, what was being held for.
Mayor, do we own the parking under the 606?
Yes.
And then, so we basically built this for what I guess we call the podium
Oh, yeah. Well, under the 606, we do. That's a city. Yeah, we've got a big debt that we're able to pay on that. And So, and then of course with user fees and kind of lease agreement with C Films and all of that.
So that seems to be maybe an extreme example of ways that land could be used, but of course that also then takes it off of our property tax rolls if we own the land, right?
Right. So if we own it right now, it's not on the rolls. Well, have to get some more detail on that, but putting something into a raw land and into something developable obviously increases taxable value by a lot and might produce something different. It might produce an economy. The investment from the city could produce something that might produce more jobs or a service to our community.
Yeah.
There's so many options besides much needed affordable housing. There's other things.
Yeah. All right. We're going to have to move on from this pretty soon, but Anna?
Thanks. Couple of things on this one. Public Works is could do their a complimentary review to the audit committee's review, because they would know which lands are currently unsuitable for affordable housing and which are being proposed for something in the future or set aside for something in the future. So I will bring that up at the next Public Works meeting, if that's okay by everybody.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so just the next thing is something that we threw in here early, but then due to low blood sugar seems to have gotten left out, is Jill Stanton's reference to the $5 million, hang on, a year that could be added to city revenues through HUD monies. So that's something I think that would be very useful to explore. And yet I do not know, other than my idea of the summit, how that could be effected, made to happen.
Yeah, I still like the idea of having the housing authority to come meet with, give us an update, and that could be at a study session, a great conversation. We can ask Jill the same questions that we've been throwing out there. How can council better support this work? Jennifer.
So a real quick follow-up, please, Michael. So this doesn't have to be a summit. It could be BHA at a council meeting, and possibly one other organization that's been mentioned and that I have forgotten. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer.
I think it's important to remember that Sarah, Jill Stanton, was she the one that made the reference to the 5 million? I guess I thought it was Sarah Chewy that came in that made that reference during a council meeting, but she's also leaving. So we're losing a really great resource, historical resource for BHA. So as we think about
Jill is leaving?
Sarah Chewy. Ashawi. Oh God. See, this is okay. Thank you, Ashawi. But I don't know about Jill. I thought it was Sarah that gave us the quote about the HUD money. Okay. So just something to keep in mind as we think about inviting people back to repeat things to us that they have already told us, which is again the point that I'm making about the fatigue. Like if we can go back and look at our meetings, then we can get a lot of the information that we're like, if I go back and find out it's Jill, that's probably what I should do. Thanks, that's it.
It was just a comment that Jill made, it was like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah, the home buying, rental, and repair, I just don't know if those, I'm sorry if I'm hung up on those words, I just didn't see them written down, but I thought
Just hold on to that.
Okay.
Christine, under the first, I think the first bullet, we were hoping to just specify the main programs, the home buying, the first-time home buyer, the weatherization and minor home repair, and the rental assistance program. Andrea.
My comments aren't really on the sub bullets. It was just trying to roll backwards to the discussion about feasibility properties for affordable housing.
Yeah.
I mean, Public Works can't do that. We can kind of do it, but I don't quite understand what your expectations are.
Yeah, we don't either. So
okay.
Jennifer and I are going to go back to that after this, and we'll touch base with council and staff and see what we can come up with. So
Yeah, all we would do on that one is just, we would let you know why we were having it set aside and what its purpose is. And if there's no purpose, we can discuss. But obviously we can't mark it and let the council know what we think might be a good property for development that wouldn't be our field. But just a quick follow-up to Council President, two things. One, Councilor Chamberlain named off about 200 high school students last night, and there was not one mispronunciation in the entire thing. So she did. I just wanted to share that with you.
You gave me too much credit. It wasn't 200, it was about 70.
I was handing out diplomas after you were naming them. I felt like I was flying and trying to keep up. So I lost track. I'm sorry, Counselor. And
a little linguistic fatigue, huh?
yeah. But the other one was Jill Stanton identified, here's the gap, is they are authorized to support rental assistance up to a certain amount. The rents are too high. They need somebody to help close the gap. I think it'd be easy for us to actually see, would CDBG be an area where we could help support close that gap? And then I wouldn't know, because Sarah Shawey's our expert. It's going to be soon to be somebody else stepping in that position. Andrea obviously oversees that department. I don't know if that's going to be a simple conversation with Jill and a presentation to CDBG.
So the CDBG isn't a good resource for rental assistance. So is that your question, is rental assistance?
Yeah, this would actually, up to $5 million just on theirs alone could be released into the community for housing. It would be rental assistance, to be specific. Yep.
I think it would be best to bring Jill in here, because I think there's lots of information that's out there, and I think it would be better to hear it directly from her as a resource. She and I met yesterday and had a lovely conversation, and she has a great way of explaining these things to help us understand it. And I don't want to try to parrot what she said to me. I think you'd be really well served to do even a joint meeting between the city council and the BHA board to learn about what the resources are and what their challenges are. Because back to my graphic of the 3 circles, I think what we need to aim for is getting housing agencies, us as local government and private sector in more conversations. I think that should be a great goal that you should strive for.
Maybe we should have a summit.
But a summit setting expectations about, with a topic area where, okay, here's the summit on, let's say it's housing vouchers, because I think that's the problem. There isn't enough resources, or there's not enough landlords, and the housing summit around voucher program with a topic area and an expectation of an outcome, and not more idea and that fatigue everybody has about coming to these public meetings and having discussions and then nothing happens.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, I'm sorry, Anna, I didn't mean to. It feels like it's already 11 p.m. I actually like that. So, big picture, we have some recommendations. Let's look at those recommendations, and then let's convene the people who need to make the things happen, which could be kind of, I think, what Anna's looking at also. Like, how do we get the people together, including folks that are struggling? And we are moving on to environmental stewardship. Sorry, I didn't take a breath.